Extra hatchery here for Eladimir for the larva, and he is going to be able to clean this up. But taking a look, because KillerB actually has the income advantage, despite Eladimir's many bases, um, he's actually going to be able to macro up an army faster than his Zerg opponent, which is not how it's supposed to go in this late game. Hugely oversaturated at his third base because he's mined out here. He is mined out, well, he's not mining out his main, but he's given up on mining out his main. Oversaturated here at this base. Would really like to actually see KillerB float this, both of these really, because he is not hurting for Vespene, and all he can get out of this right now is Vespene gas. So it's a good time because he's been ahead. And he's been winning these battles here. Like, take a look at the units lost tab. He's been vastly beating Eladimir in the units lost. So, and in his income, he has a better income. Now, of course, KillerB doesn't know that, but he should actually be floating these bases to the high yield and this fifth expansion because of how many harvesters he has. He has 82 harvesters. He knows he's way oversaturated. That's the reason that he needs to float a base. So now he's actually starting to build a new one, which he doesn't need to do. It's going to take more time to actually build that than to float one of his old bases over there. And this is already upgraded to an orbital command. I guess he wants to have a planetary fortress there for security purposes, which is basically the only reason to justify building a new base. Looks like Eladimir has his forces here. He has teched up to Broodlords, so Broodlords can be pretty decent, especially because there's no Vikings right now in KillerB's unit composition. He did have to fly the Broodlords back a little bit to get out of the Thor's range, but a good neuroparasite on this Thor. And if we take a look, what is this Thor going to be shooting? Yeah, he shoots, well, he didn't actually do much damage before the Infestor was taken out by those Banshees. So I believe KillerB must actually be targeting these Infestors with his Banshees, because those Infestors that are neuroparasiting are dying so extremely fast. And now we see some Corruptors coming in. Obviously you need Corruptors in order to get Broodlords, so Eladimir is trying to get rid of these annoying Banshees. He is able to clean up one Thor with these roaches, but now it's 3 roaches against 1 Thor. They aren't going to win that battle. I'm pretty much going to guarantee that right now. KillerB does have his gold base up. The Thor is managing to do some damage to these Corruptors. Good use of corruption, though. Even though he was taking fire by these Corruptors, he didn't just run them away. He actually corrupted that Thor before the roaches attacked. So the amount of damage that Corruptor took, because they can heal up as his Zerg units, probably worth it to actually get that extra corruption in on it. KillerB should be sending piles and piles, and yes, he is. He took almost all of his SCVs from his third base and sent them over to the gold mineral patches. Excellent work by KillerB. And now, taking a look at the production tab, we see battle cruisers are on the way. 2 of them just finished. We have Terran infantry armor level 3, which means his marines, well, all ground units should be fairly highly upgraded. Let's take a look at a marine here. Yeah, they're already 3 on the damage and 2 on the armor, so that is going to be the last thing he needs. These roaches not going to be able to defend themselves from air, and it's kind of funny actually. KillerB went battle cruisers despite seeing that there were Corruptors on the field, but at this point his army advantage is pretty huge. His income advantage, 83 harvesters over 55. Eladimir really did not drone up anywhere close. Like, look at this, there's a gas not being mined right there. He only has 178 gas, so he is gas blocking himself, I should say. And something that I noticed was getting these gas up and running and fully mining took a little while. I mean, there's 720 gas remaining in here. I don't know how long that this drone has been single-handedly mining that extractor, but I'm willing to guess that Eladimir could have been mining that more efficiently as well. So it looks like a little bit of macro mistakes going on by Eladimir here, whereas KillerB has been playing an excellent macro game as far as Terran is concerned. Obviously less bases, but like hugely oversaturated at the bases that are up. And you know, like I said earlier, he could have and still could float one of those orbital commands to take advantage of this empty base that is up here. But we do have some speedlings coming in and taking out SCVs. But at this point in the game, taking out SCVs, you know, you're picking off out of these 81 harvesters. You really don't need to pick off SCVs. It's the base itself, and now he does actually go for the kill, but the base can float itself up. Huge army here now for KillerB. Looks like it. Yeah, he's at 196 out of 200. Now I want to pause this again. Look at the amount of Marines here. That's 3 pages of Marines. So 24, 48, 56. I don't know what I'm saying here. 8, 16, 24, 48, and 8, 56 plus 3. He has almost 60 Marines with 4 battle cruisers, 3 badly damaged Banshees. So fungal growth is going to be his best friend. There's not even any medevacs in that group. So let's unpause. And Eladimir actually GG's here. Does he have? He has 1 infester. So Eladimir wasn't able to macro up a good enough army to actually take this out. But like fungal growth would have done so much damage to that, it would have halted it in its tracks. Maybe even the battle cruisers, which float behind, might have come up and become. Oh, 1 fungal growth goes off there. But yeah, unfortunately for Eladimir, he did not have the infestors up to handle that push, which really wouldn't have been that hard to defeat if he had some, you know, a few Hydras and a few infestors, because he had neural parasite research and things like that. So just unfortunately, Eladimir could not keep up with the unit production of KillerB. Most of the battles, like I said, went in KillerB's favor. And one of the things that I noticed in this game and wanted to point out, unfortunately, I think I missed a couple opportunities where it would have been perfect to demonstrate. But one of the things I've been thinking about that Eladimir might take into consideration is unit formations when you have a Thor and Marine army. Is Infestor Baneling can actually be your best friend, which are things that he had the ability to make but didn't really do. And that's because you need like 7 infestors, and you can fungal growth if the Marines are in front. You want to fungal growth the Marines and then send in the Banelings. But if the Thors are in front, that's when the neural parasite is good, because the Marines can't actually really walk past a wall of Thors. So usually what say KillerB would do is, if you're going heavy Banelings and he knows it, then he's going to send his Thors in first as an anti-Baneling force. That's when you neural parasite, and you want to have roaches in front and infestors behind roaches, neural parasite the Thors. So that's just something that Eladimir could have done with the units that he had. But I think really Eladimir's biggest problem was he almost never got over 50 drones in the entire game, when he had the freedom to go base crazy. I don't think, I mean, KillerB's entire game took place in the top half of the map. Like, he got to this gold expansion and took it out, but he fought his entire game, besides poking some Hellions in here and doing almost no damage. He fought his whole game from basically this middle line on the mini-map, if you can watch where my mouse is pointing, from this line up. Like, KillerB didn't touch these. I want to take a look at. Well, I guess he did scout them, but um, anyway. So Eladimir had the opportunity to go base crazy, get like 80 or so drones, which KillerB had a huge, over 80 SCVs really early on. Actually, he was oversaturated very well, and then he was getting bases up as he needed them. So, um, yeah, Eladimir just not enough drones, and if he had more drones, he would have been able to obviously have more infestors, more banelings, more of the units that he needed to actually deal with this Marine Thor Banshee army. Um, but yeah, I think fungal growth, while it was used fairly frequently, uh, needed to be combined more with banelings. You can't just run in 6 banelings because they'll get shot down by this amount of marines. But if he had, say, 30 banelings, and some good fungal growths, and then some neural parasites used opportunistically when the Thors are in front, really could have actually done a little bit better for him. So that's just my analysis of this game. It was actually really hard to figure out what exactly Eladimir should have done because he did get the bases and things like that, and he just seemed to be on the losing side of a lot of these battles. But yeah, excellent game, guys, and thanks to KillerB for sending me the replay. That's it for this one.